finale. We're here, everything's popping off, we're in the middle of something huge. Yeah, last episode, a lot was happening. We got some answers as to what the fuck was happening with Susan Twist, the old lady that showed up every episode. And like, it was something where like I feel like it was like impossible to predict because what it ended up being is that she was the avatar or like the vessel for Suthek, which is an old classic villain that showed up in one serial in 1975. I don't know if that explains why she was everywhere. Maybe we'll get an answer as to that in this episode, but like I don't know if that explains why she was everywhere. It's just like it's just more for the audience of like, yeah, this is the thing that you should be keeping an eye on, but like the answer is like actually impossible to predict. Something that people have predicted, and I say people when I mean me, is that it was actually Susan, the doctor's granddaughter. And that feels like it was a very clear trap that they laid out for us, because in the previous episode they were looking at it and they were like, oh, maybe it's your granddaughter, and I'm sitting here like, well, now it's not. Now that you said that, I'm like, it's not. But then they talk enough about Susan that I'm like, okay, Susan has to matter on some level. And I think it's Mrs. Flood because of a line that she said, which was, I'm always here hiding myself away, which goes exactly with what the doctor said. Time Lords hide themselves away. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But, like, at the end of the day, I don't fucking know. I don't know what's gonna happen. And more importantly, the world is ending or something. I don't know what Suthik is doing. There was this, like, huge wave of darkness that came. I think Suthik does bring, like, death and decay to everything. So it's, like, not great. We'll see what we can do about that. My prediction before I even watch the episode is, Mrs. Flood is Susan, the doctor's granddaughter, Susan Foreman, and also she was the lady that brought Ruby to the church, maybe. I don't know. Even though I think that lady is actually an avatar of Suthek, but it might not have been. It might have been Susan warning them to look behind them to pay attention to Suthek. Man, we're wrapping up another Doctor Who season. I've loved the season so far. I really have. And I feel like I took this season a little bit slower than previous seasons as they were airing. You know, like, previous season was Flux. God, Flux was so long ago. We did have a year where we got 3, like, giant episodes. But, like, we got those 3 episodes back to back to back in 1 month. So even though they were giant and they were supposed to be, like, this, like, big event, it really felt like they came and went by really quickly. So like, yeah, the last season we did a full reaction to was Flux, and Flux I watched as it was coming out, and the way I reacted to it, I think I was releasing those videos as the next episode was airing. Like the day that the next episode aired, I was releasing the previous week episode. So like, actually probably the worst timing. With this season, I actually took it a little bit slower, and like that wasn't a choice, but it was like, I am not gonna force myself to get these videos out faster when I know I can't edit them that fast. So I decided to just relax and just release them whenever I can. And that allowed me to actually have a very enjoyable experience with the season, actually. Because I'm not like freaking out about doing everything on the day. So this actually has given me a great experience with the season. I'm very happy with it. And I also just, every episode I've enjoyed, I've loved. All right. Let's watch the final episode. Let's just get the fuck out of here. Patreon. Check out the Patreon. Link in the description below. Up on the screen, you can support the channel and watch full-length reactions to this entire season now. I would offer you early access, but this is the final episode, so just full-length reactions if you're into it. Alright, let us begin. Doctor Who Series 14, Episode 8. Let's go. Empire of Death. Banger name. Y'all need to run! Okay, everyone in front of that is good. Well, y'all didn't run. That's on y'all.
Hop on, cowboy.
I love having Mel. I love Mel being an active part of this. This is great. Oh my god! Morris! So why did the doctor tell Ruby to go here? Ruby, we have a... I mean, it's all connected, but Ruby has other things to worry about. Keep firing so she doesn't do that.
This is me signing off.
Thanks and love.
Don't you fucking die on me.
This monster back into hell.
No, because I have to hope.
Birds will sing again.
I have to hope.
There will be birds.
We're in a Doom timeline. Like, my brain thinks we're in a Doom timeline rather than she's dead. Like, we're gonna somehow undo this. Like, precedent has been set from, like, episode 4, from 73 yards. We're in a 74 yards. We're in a different timeline. If Kate is actually dead, I don't know. I'm gonna be upset. I love Kate. I really do. Fuck my life. Okay, let's go. Also, like, the entire city is dying, by the way. Like, this looks horrible. Mrs. Flood?
Do you believe in the power of prayer? Then tell your Maker, I will come to storm down his gates of gold and seize his kingdom in my true name.
What you talking about? Who are you? Like, actually.
I'm sorry, you tiny little woman. It ends like this. I had such plans.
Yeah, this is a Doom timeline. There's no way. Yeah, we're gonna undo this. I don't know how. I don't know fucking nothing. But somehow this is gonna be undone. Through sci-fi shenanigans.
Time membrane failing.
Through the time membrane, I guess.
My mother, why can't we see her?
We've got worse problems.
The TARDIS time membrane is partially a real TARDIS, I guess. Wait, is this the remembering TARDIS from the fuck? I forgot the name of the thing. The TARDIS where you watch classic episodes. That one. I watched Earthshock on that the other day. A couple months ago.
TARDIS remembered.
Yes, it's the Remember TARDIS. Can we get Sylvester McCoy in here? I watched that Sylvester McCoy Remember TARDIS thing with Sophie Aldred, and I actually did cry, actually. I can't believe the Remember TARDIS is part of the actual canon show.
We meet again, my old friend.
I love the way this looks. It's so fucked.
Sutek, the death of ages, the greatest monster I have ever fought.
Well, there's several.
The timing does my memories too.
Yeah, let's watch it. I used to have a hat back then.
I cast you into the time vortex. I sent you forward to your own death.
Instead, I found a home. I clung to your infernal machine. I'm human.
Oh.
I have traveled with you for all this time.
Oh.
Staring into eternity and evolving into my true godhood.
That's sneaky. That's sneaky. All you needed was an outside Asian.
It will stand as my altar, temple of my empire of death.
You can do a lot with a TARDIS. See Series 3, The Master.
Susan.
The perfect trap.
That's what it was.
Every time we landed on every single world, I burst them all. My angels of death.
I bring Sutek's dust of death.
Okay, that's bad.
Release them into blessed depths.
I damn you, Sutek, in the name of life itself. I will defeat you, and I will turn back death. And why am I still alive?
You don't have power inside the time window, maybe.
Why is the god of death not killing me?
Because I'm gonna say it's Ruby. I said it last episode.
This feeling that you have now, have you ever felt so alive?
Oh, get him!
Doesn't it feel good?
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. Just fucking spit in this man. Fuck you and everything that you stand for. I love that Mel didn't die. I feel like they were like, oh man, that's awesome. The Skull and Vickers outfit. Oh. I love the Remember TARDIS. It's so good. For those of you who don't know, the Remember TARDIS is part of a series where they actually grab classic old Who episodes and condense them into like a more digestible, like 50 minutes episode. And they use the Remember TARDIS as a device in order to actually watch these old episodes. Featuring the old actors, Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, Peter Davison. Man, I love this TARDIS. It looks like a piece of shit. That's what makes it good.
It's a molecular bond. It's like intelligent rope, intelligent glove. That was the first day we met.
So what did I miss? Every Susan triad, they were innocent. They were all real.
Absolutely real. Every time the TARDIS would land, it would roll her out like...
So it doesn't get noticed, it just sits there kind of unseen. Because it casts a field around it at 66.7 meters exactly.
So
73 yards.
Funny things happen at 73 yards.
Sutek, he used this field, but he used it massively. Created a whole new person everywhere I'd land.
Yeah.
Perception means that she fitted in. She had character, she had history, she had a truth.
You landed on Earth 100 times.
We landed everywhere. That's bad.
Sutek called her an angel of death. What did she do?
To kill everything? This is gonna be sad. Uh-huh. Oh man, is Australia the last bastion of humanity? There's out there a kangaroo that's the last thing alive.
My mother, is she?
It's everyone.
No, but can't you
Nothing
just...
I can do. Every time I landed there, the Earth is dying so many times. Every world that I ever stood upon, all dead. Karl, the huge sphere, and Scarrow.
The Daleks are dead.
Everything's dead. Yeah.
The whole of time and space. I did this.
Now the guilt is seeping in. This was here for a couple episodes, especially last episode.
Every sun is dead. The universe has come to a halt.
The light just goes out.
And it is my fault. I thought it was fun.
It's a good scream. It's a good... Man, he doesn't get a break. He has to cry every episode. And this is like one of the best cries. He's just screaming.
Secret the child carries with her.
Okay. I wonder if we're gonna do a 73 yards again. It was mentioned.
Can you tell me, where are we?
No idea. All I've got is this chaffee. Do you want some?
That's very kind. Only if you have enough.
I haven't seen anyone in weeks. They said there was food, but I haven't seen them since.
Hush now, darling. Let me give the man his chaffee.
I mean, it didn't make any noise.
I think I called her Brindle,
I think.
but I forget. They say memory is dying. There was a man that said that actual facts were dying in the death wave. Then I met my husband. Whatever his name was. Tall. He was tall. I remember that. I do remember an opera house over that way. Of all the things to remember. Maybe I worked there, maybe I sang. But people used to come from all over, lights and their diamonds, all sorts of things. It was lovely.
Have you got any metal?
Metal is a precious thing, sir.
I don't think anything's precious anymore.
I suppose you do have a very nice face.
He does. He has a very friendly face. One tiny spoon. It's only one spoon. We can't even play with them. Do the trick like Sylvester McCoy did.
I will use this spoon, I promise. Might save the universe with this spoon.
That would be nice.
Just gonna fade away just like everything else.
My daughter died, didn't she? And I forgot.
I'm sorry.
They say it travels the death wave down the family line. Except that this man, he said it's perverse.
Who's this man? Is it him?
But it's okay because I really am very tired. You've got such a nice face.
That was such a nice scene for that random character he didn't know existed 2 minutes ago.
I swear to you, this spoon,
We're gonna use the fuck out of that spoon, dude.
some metal, not TARDIS memory, something real. Look, all this time, it's still connected to
She's sleeping with the best.
What was all that Egyptian stuff?
cultural appropriation.
Who were they? That woman and the man with the hair?
They just traveled in the TARDIS. That's how I know Mal. We traveled together, didn't we? We met Einstein.
Did we?
Oh no.
God, I've forgotten.
The death wave is gonna get her.
Why did he go on the attack? Why did Sutek appear on Ruby Road?
He's answering you. Maybe he's trying to ask you something.
But what does this have to do with my mother?
I don't fucking know, but we need that answer now.
He saw the one thing beyond his comprehension. Your mother.
But who is she?
We don't know. And neither does he. That's the point.
Okay.
No wonder he's keeping us alive. To figure out the answer. Who is she?
But if gods are scared of them, what the hell does that mean? She's not this big cosmic thing, is she? Because in that case, what am I?
You are absolutely human.
Yeah.
Okay, then who's that?
Wait. Okay, we're back to 73 yards.
It's giving you another answer. But what is it?
The proposed compulsory DNA testing for the entire population.
So the 73 yards.
He did it.
DNA testing became compulsory for the entire population in the UK. So if your mother was still alive,
She'd be on record.
she would be on the register. It is showing us the way, Ruby. It's showing us the path to your mother. If I can
What does
just...
that mean? Can we find Ruby's mother? Yeah, and what happens if we do?
Why did you question last time?
They can see through Melanie, don't they? Knows that she is. Whoa. He looks like a PE teacher. Or like an army man, I guess. You can like see the dust just in the air. I feel like the doctor's aware of what happened to Melanie.
Okay, Mel, you better keep watch. Sutek's service could be anywhere. We're all getting out of this.
Don't worry about me.
That's me.
Hey.
Somewhere in there is your mother's name, and maybe we can use it to fight Sutek.
I see.
She's gonna grow the skull and turn into one of the avatars. The snow's coming. Yes, it. Say it!
What does it mean?
She died. Ruby, I'm sorry. I loved you, Mel.
And what good did love do, Doctor? When did it ever help? Now give me the name.
Okay.
The last two creatures in existence to die at your hand. Then you can end our wretched half-life so that silence can reign.
Bring the name to me.
If you just allow me.
I've got the name. No, I've got the name, and I'll give it to you. Can you just let him go? But I don't understand, and I wish I could. It's the only thing I've ever wanted for all these years, but now I've found it, and I don't understand. But maybe you can. Maybe this is for you. You great big god of nothing.
Got him! What, put him on... Okay. That's the plan.
She's too cold.
Yeah, that's why he sent her away. You can control it via sound? Oh! Oh, I took her away from him! We're good, let's go! Put that dog on a leash.
Into the vortex.
This time for real. Now cut it. Cut the leash. Let him out.
What just happened?
Love my whistle.
Good explanation.
You saw all of time and space with me, Sutek. So I thought, what if you see again? What happens if you bring death to death? You bring life.
Does that equation work? I guess. Yeah, he would destroy the reality he created. I guess. Like, yeah, I guess the equation works. Alright, we're good. Whew. Okay. Wait, even the guy in that last episode. Are you Susan? Just tell me. Just fucking... Who are you, lady? Okay. Why is Susan here? Bring death to death? Oh man, the whole universe turns into Captain Jack situation.
It's here is alive.
Oh, thank God.
Agua Santina.
Oh, lady, thank you for your spoon.
The spoon. We fought a monster.
For the god.
And now, I must become a monster.
The destroyer! The Lord God of death itself! I pride myself that I am better than you because if you're death, then I must represent life. Surely that's what I am! Life! And that's how you win, Sutek.
Because I have to kill now.
I am the one that brings death.
I love that. I love that. Goodbye, doggy. Even that upset him. Okay, back home. So we all died?
But I've still got my memories, my family. The god of death created life.
I think Unit can use you.
Oh,
Pet, anything to help. I don't mind. I'll make the tea.
Did you make this tea?
I did, yes.
Don't make the tea.
Oh.
I want you to say thank you, Doctor. You brought her home.
You brought all of us back from, well, who knows where.
Yeah, what was that like for you guys?
Remember what happened when you...
Echoes.
DNA retrieval 100%.
Okay. Oh.
My mother.
We's Alison Miller. 35 years old, 15 when she gave birth to you.
Records say her stepfather was, well, he was trouble. I think she did the right thing getting you out of that house.
Not surprising.
She must have hidden the pregnancy. Louise moved to Coventry at the age of 18. Did well, got a degree. She's a nurse.
She's so ordinary.
she's wonderful.
I love her for that. I just...
Yeah, how does this
How
fit
did she
in?
stay invisible from a god? She defeated Sutek.
She was important because we think she's important.
Okay.
It's how everything
I see.
happens. Every war, every religion, every...
It's not her, it's what she meant. It's what she represents.
In the end, the most important person in the universe was the most ordinary. A scared little girl making our baby safe.
She pointed at you, Doctor.
She wasn't pointing at me because we cleaned up the VHS. Behind me was that lamppost. She was pointing at the name of the road. She was naming you.
That's so bizarre. Somebody yelled at her, "What's her name?" And she did this. That makes sense.
My name is Ruby.
Aww. Mystery Souls.
She's happy that she has had over 7,000 days to come and find you, and she never has. Is that fair?
If she's
Louise
not
made
around,
mental
then
choices, and
yeah, that's good.
you should leave that alone.
Oh, cappuccino, please.
They look very similar.
That's me. I was named after a road, Ruby Road. You left me by a church 19 years ago. Oh my God. You left me where I was safe, and I just want to say thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's you.
Aww. The guy in the coffee store is just like,
I always thought I should get in touch. Every Christmas I thought, right, this is the year. But every Christmas I thought, what if she hates me?
Makes sense. She's gonna leave the show. She's gonna stay home. She has her mom now. She has two moms. This is everything she wanted.
Catch up at a pizza and Mum set up a bed in Grand's room so Louise can stay the night. And then we can head off, you and me.
Ruby.
Come out and join. I've told her so much about you. She knows everything. And hang on, I better.
She has a life.
I think they found him. My dad, William, they think. Because it turns out his mum and dad still live at the same address, but she never told him, my mum.
Oh man,
So,
that's...
She never told Will about me, so he doesn't even know I exist.
Those are crazy news for Will over here. You had a daughter 20 years ago. Yeah, like she has a life.
Don't be sorry.
She actually ended her journey. This is all she wanted. This is great.
Showing you monsters and planets, legends.
And you don't need any of that. You need this.
I see. My dad.
Bro, don't pull a David Tennant. Just go for coffee. It's just every now and then.
Will I ever see you again?
Of course you will. Of course you will. Ruby, someday I will see you again because you changed me. I talk about family in a way that I never did before. It's because of you. You have made my life bigger and better. Goodbye.
Alright. Goodbye. Take care. He's cried like 10 times this episode. And I love it every time.
And that's how the story of the church on Ruby Road comes to an end.
Okay, please, what are we doing? Okay, who is she? She's Susan. She's the master. She's God?
Ruthlessly. Oh, what happens to that mysterious traveler in time and space known as the Doctor? I'm sorry to say his story ends in absolute terror.
Okay.
Night, night.
Bye. I love that the only thing I was sitting here for was like, who the fuck is Mrs. Flood? And then the episode is like, bro, I don't know. You'll have to figure out next time. Why was she dressed like that? She has directly addressed the audience like 3 times already. Are you another god? You seem to be all powerful. Well, you died to Sutek, so not all powerful, you know. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I took a little bit of a break. And by a little bit, I mean like hours. Okay, let's talk about this episode. I just rewatched the scene where Mrs. Flood and Ruby's grandma die, and Mrs. Flood says, "Do you believe in the power of prayer? Then tell your maker I will come to storm down his gates of gold and seize his kingdom in my true name." What the fuck? Like, okay, previous episode I was like, that's Susan. This episode I'm like back to, okay, she's just evil. I don't know who that is, but it's like it's a god entity, right? Like for a second I thought like it's the master, but now I'm like, no, it's a god entity. Like somehow someone, I don't know who. And like, what do we see at the end when Mrs. Flood, she has like a packing briefcase, like she's going somewhere. She's dressed in full white and has a white umbrella. She goes, "What happens to that mysterious traveler in time and space known as the Doctor? I'm sorry to say his story ends in absolute terror." Smiles into the camera, goes night night, and then we're good. Okay, I don't know what to say about that. I literally don't know. It could literally be anything. Like, okay, maybe there is a classic episode somewhere where we do actually talk about God, the Christian God, I suppose. And if we do that, then maybe we can extrapolate something pointing out towards whoever this entity might be. Maybe there's something about the outfit and the umbrella being just full white that it's like an aesthetic choice that maybe links up in some way thematically to what she might be. But like at the end of the day, I have no fucking clue, dude. I don't know what we're doing. Again, something I do in this channel is that like sometimes you're being given enough information for you to like theorize something, and sometimes you're given information that is just for you to sit with and be like, all right, whatever. Like whenever the show wants to tell me, they will tell me, because right now I can't really do anything about this. I'm sure that there's people that are speculating in some way. People are like going into fucking classic episodes and trying to find like references to God or something, which is the only connection we can grab. That and like the outfit being fully white, but like, I don't know. What if it's Durrani? I would be elated if it was Durrani. I mentioned Durrani at the beginning of this season. I was like, what if Durrani comes back? If it's Durrani, I'd be happy. The reason why I'm thinking Time Lords and Time Ladies is because the Doctor said a line in the previous episode, Time Lords can use regeneration to like, you know, serve their lives or to like hide themselves away. And then it cut to Mrs. Flood saying, "I'm always hiding myself away." And then I was like, okay, Time Lord, Time Lady, whatever. Which is why I thought it was Susan. But now I'm thinking, okay, some different Time Lord, Time Lady. But the way she talked, it sounds like a god entity. It sounds like something beyond just a Time Lord. It could be the Master just because the Master is just a recurrent antagonist. We're never gonna fully get rid of the Master. Like, Moffat did give the Master an incredible ending with Missy. And we don't know if Missy's the last Master. It could be, and I would kind of be satisfied because it's so fucking cool. Such a cool ending to that character storyline. But then we brought in Sacha Lawan, and he was like the best part out of the entire Jodie era. So like, I'm like, and because they're Time Lords, like you can do things out of order. So like, it doesn't have to matter. You can always just keep bringing the Master back because it's just a fun antagonist to bring back. Whatever. Let's talk about the actual episode now. The first couple minutes of the episode are some of the most fucked up like Doctor Who shit we've had, where we just see the heat death of the universe. We just see everyone fucking die. And like, we've seen situations where like our characters are like, shit looks dire, right? Like I'm thinking about like the end of season 3 where the entire Earth was just fucked, and then we undid all of that. And like in this episode, I had the exact same thought where we see the dust of death go after Kate and everyone there over at Unit. And I'm sitting there thinking like, there's no way. And then they start dying and Kate is saying her final goodbyes. And I'm like, there's no way. we are gonna undo this timeline. We are in a Doom 73 yards timeline. That's what I thought, because in my head with this show, I'm like, there's no way. It's a sci-fi show. You can do whatever you want. Like there are no rules. You can write whatever the fuck you want. So you can write everyone dies and then we undo all of that. And that's exactly what they did. It wasn't like a Doom timeline situation. It was actually kind of cool how they solved it. It kind of makes sense, but in a show like Doctor Who, that's all you need. We kill death, therefore that creates life. It's not as basic as that. It's more like the death event is like an event that happened and it like killed everything. So then the Doctor threw death into the death event, and then that makes it so it cancels itself out, right? Because like, if you destroy the destroyer, then we're good, right? Like that's essentially what he did. Now again, like, do we have to care about that like exactly, like perfectly practically how it works? It's like, it only has to matter on like conceptually, and then that's all you need. And I'm like, perfect, like that's all we need. They use the wire from the Remembering TARDIS as well as the glove, which was set up in the episode earlier. And then the Doctor and Ruby were clever enough to know exactly what to do in that moment. So then they just did it. And it was like a clever, like, tag team execution of a very clever plan. And it was like, okay, this is good. Very good. I'm a fan of that. Something I'm a fan of in this episode, like hugely, is how important Mel was to the episode. That, like, listen, I didn't watch many stories with Mel back in Classic, but I have seen Mel, and I love having Mel back. Like, when she was brought back for, was it The Giggle? I think it was The Giggle, the first one where she was in, because she wasn't in Power of the Doctor. But yeah, she was here for The Giggle, and then now they're bringing her back here for the two-parter finale. And I love how important she is, because I just love the idea of, like, previous Doctor's companions actually just still having like a life. Like, they don't vanish from reality, they're still around, and it would make sense for them to still like have some kind of fight in them, something that they're doing for a greater good. Or even if they're not doing that, like, just they're around, they're real, right? Because like I think that in the mythos of Doctor Who, as a fan, if you're watching it for many years, you kind of just, in your mind, you kind of have this thing where like someone leaves the show and in your brain you go like, okay, I don't have to care about them anymore. Who's new, right? You're kind of moving on from that person. But something I would love it would be if I didn't have to do that. If that was something where in my brain I go like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna do next, and then I wonder if we'll see them next. Now, kind of the sad reality is that, like, if an actor leaves the show, they left the show. They're not gonna show up again unless they want to do something special with them. And that's kind of the way this works, because like, you know, the actor has commitments. They're gonna go do something else, and they might come back at some point in the future if they want to have like a special gig, like a special appearance, something like that. Like, that could happen. But generally, if an actor leaves the show, that's it. But that makes me absolutely love the fact that we can bring a character like Mel, who was once incredibly important, main character status, and by once I mean Dragonfire, which was the departure of Mel and the introduction of Ace, aired in 1987. So that was 37 years ago. The last time Mel was a main character was 37 years ago. I love having that be something where, you know, let's bring back this character and she's gonna be a main character again. Because Mel was a main character previous episode, and this one is like, this one especially. She's one of the last 3 surviving members of reality. So I love the idea of bringing a character that was a main character and be like, she can be a main character again. Who says she can? You know, like, there's no rules about like, if someone leaves the show, they can't be like mega important again. And not just again, but just in general. Like, they could, and I'm actually kind of like looking at it as if they might have like a spin-off where we got to follow Unit with like Kate Lever Stewart, and we got to see Melanie, and we get to see Rose, and that like those 2 guards. There was the really tough one and the other guy who died, but then he didn't. We got the Blings, we got more. It's like, It's fun because these are all characters that like really stand out. They have like this personalities. Like I will look at them and I will recognize them and be like, oh shit, it's that guy, you know? So like that would actually work out for like a cast of main characters if they wanted to do Torchwood 2 this time with Unit, and Melanie could be in it. And I'm not saying that they have to do that or that they should do that, but that Melanie could be a main character if we wanted to do that now, and because she was in this couple episodes. And I love that she was. I love that, like, you know why it's great? It's because it's not like a celebration. Because Power of the Doctor, which was part of the Jodie era, so maybe not a lot of people saw it, but it was the reintroduction of David Tennant as the Doctor, so maybe people did see it because of that. But Power of the Doctor was an episode that felt like a celebration of the show because it was, I think, the 300? No, am I mistaken? It was the anniversary of the BBC. That was what it was. It was like some kind of anniversary of the BBC. And because of that, they had a lot of like a legacy and history of the show coming for the Power of the Doctor. And like that like solo carried that episode for me. Like how much of the show's history was like referenced and brought back for a little bit in order to say goodbye to Jodie, but also just recall to like the fact that like everything that has happened and will continue to happen. And mainly because he had Sophie Aldred and Sylvester McCoy in it. Because like when you watch my reaction to Power of the Doctor, I look at the credits and I see Sophie Aldred, and my brain just kind of stops for a moment and I'm like, hold on. Because like I know Sophie Aldred is Ace, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I guess she could be back as a different character, but no, that's Ace, motherfucker. And then Ace shows up and I'm like losing my mind. And then as the episode keeps going, we have Tegan. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the actress, but we have Tegan, and then we have a scene where Tegan meets up with Peter Davison, and they're talking about the Cyberman, and she's like, do you know what I'm thinking about right now? And like Doctor is like, Adric. And like that hit me on like every level that I have, because like I had forgotten about Urshok. I don't think about Urshok every day, but whenever I do, I'm like, fuck, that was a banger of an episode. So whenever that happened, I was like, ugh. And then I was in shambles. Again, you should watch my video on Power of the Doctor. That was a good reaction. It was one of the best ones I've done. But like that prepared me for like, oh my god, we're gonna see Ace and the Seventh Doctor talk again. They're gonna interact with one another on screen on 2024. Well, it was like, what year was it? It was 2022, I think. Like I was losing my fucking mind, and then it happened as it was happening. I was like holding back tears. I was like shaking. It was incredible. But that was like a special thing, and it was treated as a special thing. Mel isn't. Mel is more casual. Mel is like, this is a character that was a main character, and then she stopped being a main character for 37 years. But, you know, she can still be a main character. We can just have her in, and she is in. And she's just hanging out. I love that. I actually love that. I arguably love that more than like doing something special of like, you know, being like, haha, I'm a cameo for an episode, and this is a special episode. This is just more, Mel is still alive and around and important, so here she is. And it's like, yeah, good, awesome. We should do that more. That's what I think. I would love it if we did that more. And like Mel sets an incredible precedent if they ever wanted to do that again, and I'm kind of hoping that RTD does that again, because that's good, right? It's good to have like characters who like mattered come back and be like mainstays. Like there's like a consistent thing. It's not just like a special celebration. It's just like, here's Sophie Aldred, and she's just around. She's just kicking ass, and she's here every episode. And I'm like, why would we not do that? The only reason why you wouldn't do that is because you don't want to alienate your audience, right? To be like, haha, here's a classic thing, everybody wink. But like, if you don't set it up as that, if you just introduce it as if it was a new character, but then, you know, her and the Doctor know each other, it's like, well, there you go. Like you don't actually have to do anything where you alienate your audience. You can just introduce her as if it was the first time, which I think in Power of the Doctor worked out that way, because I watched reactions to Power of the Doctor and people were looking at Ace and they were like, Ace is awesome, and I'm like, yeah, she is. Welcome to the club. We've been here for I don't know how many years. Oh yeah, I just checked. 37 years. We've been here for 37 years. Ace fan club. But okay, back to the episode. I took a huge tangent, and I'm about to take another one. Let's talk about the remembering TARDIS. I can't believe the remembering TARDIS is real. I can't believe the remembering TARDIS is real. Because, like, for those of you who don't know what the remembering TARDIS is, they release, I think it was called Tales of the TARDIS or Tales from the TARDIS, which is essentially they introduced this thing called the Remembering TARDIS, which we saw in this episode, which is like a TARDIS, but it's like really crammed and just shitty looking, and it has a bunch of screens and a bunch of like things that are memories of the past in it. So a lot of like decoration from like the classic era of the show. Tales of the TARDIS, 7 episodes. Oh, this is fun. We have Earthshock, which you should watch. Mind Rover, I don't know about that one. Vengeance on Virus, I did watch that episode, but I didn't watch that Tales of the TARDIS. The Curse of Fenric featuring Ace, I watched that one. And Pyramids of Mars. This was released on the 20th of June 2024. Okay, they released the Tales of the TARDIS, Pyramids of Mars, exclusively to introduce people to Suthek. That's fun. That's fun. I like that. That's absolutely a genius idea. But Tales of the TARDIS is this like a spin-off where you get to watch classic episodes, and they are presented to you with this, like, at the beginning and end you have a couple scenes of classic characters being reprised, but they're all actors, but it is presented to you as if they are remembering what happened, and then you get to see the episode, and then it comes back and they reminisce on it. It's a very cool way of doing it, because ultimately it's sci-fi. You can do whatever you want. So if you just want to have like this thing called a Remembering TARDIS and use that as a device for people to look back and we can rewatch old episodes, I think that's perfect. I think that's incredible. I love that idea. And I like actually cried watching that. I watched it off camera because I just found it as a YouTube video and I watched it and I was like losing my mind because it was so fucking good.
I loved you, you know. Like the dad I never had.
And then this episode actually made the Remembering TARDIS canon. I couldn't believe that. Like, that is something that if you weren't following the like weird like little spin-off that they did just for fan service, if you weren't following that shit, this would mean nothing to you. But I was watching it and I was like, I can't believe the Remembering TARDIS is not just real, but like an active, important part of this episode, of this finale. And like, honestly, now that you've introduced the Remembering TARDIS as like a thing in the world in this episode, now you should make more. I'm just saying, you should make more Tales of the TARDIS so we can watch more classic episodes featuring all actors. The more you do that, the less you have to have all actors in the main show, actually. Like, you don't have to reference them if you can just have them in the spin-off where they reprise their roles for like a little bit, and it's just fun, and it's for us, the people that really want to see, you know, Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred interact again, and that means a lot to us. Anyway, the Remembering TARDIS was fucking awesome. I love every second of it. Like Mel goes in the Remembering TARDIS and she sees Colin Baker's dreadful outfit, and that's not on him. He didn't want that outfit, but they forced it onto him. But she sees the Sixth Doctor outfit, which is like very cringe. It looks like a clown, but at the same time, there is a sense of nostalgia to that costume because it's so colorful and it's so over the top that you have to kind of look at it and be like, our beloved Sixth Doctor costume, like, you kind of feel a little bit sad you kind of like miss it a little bit, and you get to see Mel and she's like hugging it a little bit, and it's like, it's so cute. I love that. And then in a later scene, I didn't point it out, but I saw it. Mel is resting on the vest of the Seventh Doctor. Yeah, like Mel is like passing out because she's dying, and she's just kind of like laying on top of a chair, and on the chair is the vest of the Seventh Doctor of Sylvester McCoy. Mel was the companion for the final year of the Sixth Doctor and the first year of the Seventh Doctor, so those are the 2 doctors that she was companion of. So we get to see her like reminisce on the 2 of them, because the Remembrance Artist has all of this like tiny little references to the past. I feel like I talk about classic enough. Let's talk about the actual episode, because the episode has a lot of shit in it. You know what's my favorite scene in this episode, probably? It's the scene where the Doctor goes and talks to this random woman. Unnamed, we'll never know what her name is, because I don't think it was mentioned in the future, like after it was undone. The Doctor just walks into this hut, like everything is gone, everyone has died. He just walks in, and this random woman is just there, It's a very weird interaction, and you can tell that something's off about her, but you don't know what it is. In a moment, and then she says like, I haven't seen anyone in weeks, and I'm sitting here like, okay, maybe that could explain it, like she's losing it due to loneliness. But then they just say like she's forgetting things, and it's like the death wave is getting everything and everyone, and that is getting to her the memories of everyone too. The real fucked up thing was when she was like, my child has died, hasn't she? And I just forgot. It's something where like I noticed, because when the doctor came in, she was like, hush darling, and I'm like, she didn't make any noise. I think that baby is dead and she's lost it. And that's exactly what it was. Maybe she was in some level of denial, who knows. But I love that scene because it was such a, this is difficult to explain, but I feel like it's one of those scenes that only RTD could have written it as like the showrunner of the show. Because like, I'm looking at the previous showrunners we've had for this new era of the show, and I'm like, I don't think that would have happened in any other era, because that was like such a, like, we have no knowledge about this woman. We don't know anything before she showed up on screen like 2 minutes ago. We don't know her name. We don't know anything. And yet we have a very emotionally charged scene between the doctor and this random woman, and like we're like, there is no, I feel like a lot of emotional scenes, what carries you into caring about them is your attachment to it, because you might already know the characters, you know what's at stake, you know all of these things that actually do make you so you are invested in those scenes. This scene with this random woman, I wasn't invested at all, because it's just a random woman. Like it was a scene that if you took out of the episode would have been fine, because it didn't need to exist. It's just completely random. And yet, there was so much meaning, like the emotion that you feel in the moment watching that happen, where you get to see the effects of the death wave from like the perspective of like talking to one random person that is still around but not for long. And there is so much emotion to that. And even like the doctor is like, do you have any metal? And then she was like, metal's a precious thing. The doctor is like, there's not many things that are precious anymore. And she's like, you're right. Gives him a spoon, and the doctor's like, thank you, I will use the spoon. Like, it was this thing where like, it's something that's so, it's so nothing. It's such a like nothing thing. It's a fucking spoon. It's just asking your neighbor for a spoon, and yet it is the most meaningful thing in the universe right now. This woman cares so much about so little things that like kind of didn't exist anymore, and she kind of forgot about what she cared about. Like, well, okay, actually no, that's the opposite. She cared about her daughter. She cared about her husband and her life that she had at some point. Maybe there was an opera house nearby. She could have sang in it. She doesn't know. She just knows that there was one, and she maybe visited it. She has a daughter. She thinks she remembers her name. It's this thing where like the reality of things is fading, but her emotional attachment to them still remains, right? Like, she vaguely remembers things, but she only like remembers from like an emotional standpoint, which is really cool, because you get to see how this is a random person that cared about things, and the doctor is talking to them from this perspective of like, yeah, we care about things, that's a good thing. But then she just slowly fades away and crumbles, and it's like so fucking sad. And I love that that's just a random scene that doesn't even need to exist. Like, it starts on minute 18 and it lasts until minute 23 basically. So it's like a 5-minute scene, a little less than 5 minutes. It's really good that it's a completely uninterrupted scene between like characters, no matter. Like, if my reaction didn't have that scene at all, it would be fine. But I'm gonna keep it because I love that scene, and I love that connection with a random person, a random human being. And speaking of a random human beings, let's talk about Ruby's mom. I'm sure that maybe there are people that like watched the reveal of like who Ruby's mom was, and they felt like cheated. Like, maybe they're upset about that reveal of like, she's nobody. She's just a random person. You know, like, haha, that mystery was for nothing. And it's like, well, it wasn't for nothing. It's more like okay, I'm talking to a ghost here. Like, this person doesn't exist. Or maybe they exist, but I'm not talking to anyone in a specific. But if you're someone that's upset about the reveal of like Ruby's mom, then like, I think you might be focusing on the wrong thing, because what we're trying to do here is say that it doesn't matter who Ruby's mom actually is. What actually matters is the meaning that Ruby has put on that mystery. I think Ruby's mom has been elevated as like this like mythical entity just because there's so much mystery around it. But like ultimately it doesn't really matter who it was. It looks like it's all connected. It looks like that's, you know, that was like an avatar of Suthek or whatever, but it wasn't. But even before that, it's like we have all these things of like, why was she pointing? Why is she cloaked and hooded? Like, why is this the mystery that we really harp on the entire season? And the ultimate answer to all of that is because that's Ruby's mom and she cares about it and she wants to know who the mom is, and that's it, you know. And that's something where the actual meaning of Ruby's mom lies within Ruby herself, because Ruby cares about nothing more than finding her mom. And this is just something we get to see constantly. This is a real thing about Ruby that we get to see over and over and over again. She really wants to know who her mom is. She wants to know where she comes from. And it's not that she doesn't love her new mom. It's not that she doesn't love Carla and she doesn't love her life. She actually does. But in a weird way, like Ruby actually does want to know who her actual biological mom is and bring her into the family. She wants to know her origins and she wants to feel like she belongs, and she actually wants to bring her in too. And I think that in 73 yards we actually do get to see a lot about Ruby. And we like, I know that I have like people that watch this and they like, I don't like Ruby, and I don't know how strong that sentiment is. I do know that one of my regulars that watches these videos doesn't like Ruby because she has said so many times. But I think that Ruby is a character we learn more about with the passing of episodes a little bit, and especially in 73 yards we get to see her fear of abandonment, and obviously that is rooted on her actual mom, like her complex about being abandoned, about like being left behind, about being unwanted, you know. And we get to see that explored like deeply in 73 yards, which was mentioned in this episode a lot. And I feel like it was mentioned because they also understood 73 yards is a fucking banger of an episode. It's one of the best episodes, if not the best episode in the entire season. So it's one of those things where like that's an episode that actually gives us such a clear insight into Ruby. And then of course it matters to her to know who her mom is. That's like, there's nothing in the world that matters more to her than that. So it's the thing where like the mystery of like who this person is, like who the mom is, why she's so important, like we need to know. And then the doctor is just like, it's just a random woman, and the reason why she was important was because you cared about her. Like, in a universe where there's like one living creature left, the most important thing is the thing that's the most important thing to that person. And there's something like really poetic about that. There's something like romantic about that I love. Like, I love that. It's like, what is the most important thing in the universe? The thing that you care about. There you go. Like, and that gives it meaning. That gives it power. It's something that like is a little bit cheesy, I'm not gonna lie. I personally love it. I feel very satisfied with that. On like a poetic sense, I love it so much. Because it also like leads to like Suthek really focusing on something that's really unimportant. Even Ruby is like confused about it. It's like, I thought it would be like some crazy entity, and Ruby in some ways is the audience stand-in. You know, the audience is like, I thought it would be some, I don't know, crazy thing. Even I was like, it's fucking Suthek or something. Like, I don't know who the fuck it is. But then Doctor is like, no, it's important because it matters to you. That's what actually gave it power and meaning. And I was like, you know what, I like that better. I think that's the better option. Because like, it would be disappointing, right, if it was like, who's Ruby's mom? God, like Suthek, the Doctor, the Master, I don't know, name whatever important character in the Doctor Who universe you can name. You know, it's Susan, the Doctor's granddaughter, so she's like many layers, eventually a time lady too. It's like, I don't know, it could be anything, but like that makes it uninteresting. I think the most interesting thing is doing actually the uninteresting thing, which is Ruby's mom is just a random woman, and there's something like very beautiful about the meaning is the meaning that you give to it. I love that. I love that ending. And I love that Ruby is not going to travel with the Doctor anymore. And I don't say that because I didn't like her, because I actually did. I think Ruby's and the Doctor's, like 15 Doctor specifically, like I think their relationship was one of the best ones we've had in a while. It was actually kind of similar to Rose's relationship with the Doctor, like Rose and David Tennant, specifically those two. not Eccleston, because I feel like Eccleston's dynamic with Rose was a little bit different, but I think David Tennant's dynamic with Rose, where David Tennant I feel like is a little bit more fun. So I think it was something more similar to that dynamic, but like platonic, right? Like no romance here, just completely platonic. And I actually really love that. I do. I absolutely love that, because like if you look back at like the modern companions, it's like, okay, we had Rose, they were playful, and eventually that turned into romance. We had Martha, which she was a rebound relationship, and she really wanted to be with the Doctor, and the Doctor was like, I'm not emotionally available, but they never had that conversation, so it was always awkward until she just left because she needed to move on with her life, which good for her. But like there's also, I know that there's a lot of people who think like Martha deserved better, and I'm kind of with them, because it would have been nice if Martha had more shit that she could do, which like she eventually shows up again next season, and she shows up again next season. She shows up multiple times in series 4. She shows up in Torchwood. Martha does shit, and she's very capable, but like in the actual season that she was in, it felt like she was kind of stuck, and she says so. Donna is arguably the best modern Doctor Who companion because of the dynamic that she had with the Doctor, which was also completely platonic, and it was also playful, but it wasn't like cute. It was like it was narky. She was narky with David Tennant, and he was narky to her, and it was fun. It was fun to see them just go back at each other. So that was something that was very good, and that's why in the Starbeast I'm so fucking glad that Donna's here. It's so fucking good that David Tennant and Donna, specifically those two, are back, because that is like such a perfect dynamic, and I'm glad to see it again. It hasn't changed. It's perfect. We got to see Amy and Rory. Controversial opinion, I don't really like Amy and Rory very much. I like Rory. Rory's never done good. He's always done dirty. Rory never gets a W, which makes me feel bad. And Amy, I'm gonna say something very controversial. I got like a poll on my YouTube. You know, randomly you get polls and shit. And I got like a poll that somebody made that was like favorite companion or whatever, and it was like pitting, like I think it was like Amy, Donna, and someone else. And I was like, Donna, clearly, surely. And it was like 20% Donna, and Amy was like 60 or something like that. And I was like, people vote Amy because Karen Gillan's hot. Like, I think that's the only reason. I think people looked at that and they go like, hey, that's the hot lady from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm gonna vote for her. I'm gonna be real with you. I believe that that's the case. I don't see why people would love Amy that much. Amy's weird when she shows up. She's like, I'm gonna cheat on my husband the night before our wedding. And like, sure, you can say she grows after that, because she does. She ends up getting, like, her relationship with Rory, like, ends up gaining steam, and Rory becomes a mainstay. He's a part of the main cast. But like, learning how to love your husband is not something that I should necessarily be celebrating. Because like, it starts with them getting married, and it ends with they're happy together. And it's like, girl, did it really take you like 2 full seasons to get there? I guess it took her like 1, but like then it feels like we don't really have much other than, you know, she gives birth to her daughter, and then her daughter, like, it gets weird. It gets real fucking weird. I think having Amy and Rory was better than just Amy on her own, but at the same time, I don't think the treatment of them was great, and I don't think the dynamic was great with Matt Smith's Doctor either. It was like weird at times, just straight up. It was weird. And then we get Clara, where it's once again weird. I think Clara is cool. Well, Clara is weird, and then she gets better, because Clara feels kind of like an aimless character until you get to series 9 of Doctor Who, and by that point she's been around for a full season and a half, so it's like, okay, it took us a while to get here. But then when you get to series 9, Clara actually becomes like really good, and I think there's a very good dynamic that they do for the 12th Doctor and Clara doing series 9, but it takes a while to get there. And even then, I think it's interesting in order to tell a story, but not interesting in terms of like, let's watch them have fun together. It's interesting because Heaven Sent and Hellbent exist. That's why it's interesting. If those episodes didn't exist, then that dynamic wouldn't be as good. And then you get into Bill. I love Bill. Bill's good. I'm trying to think if I love Bill individually more than the dynamic, or just the dynamic more than the individual. And I think I love Bill individually more than the dynamic she had with 12. because I feel like the dynamic for series 10 was the 12th Doctor and Missy, right? I think that was the actual dynamic that you could like really focus on. It was that more so than Bill, but like the 12th Doctor loved Bill and he had a huge appreciation for Bill, and I feel like that's because Bill was just a great human, just a great human being and a great person. But that's not the dynamic. That's just the character. The dynamic was good, but it was mostly just the character. Then we get into 13th era, where we get the fam, which I don't know if it was the characters or the stories that they were in, but I wasn't fully sold on them. I like Graham. Graham was cool. I like that Yas was turned into a hopelessly in love lesbian. I love that. I think that's a great direction to take her character in. But it did kind of end up feeling like, you know, Martha. Honestly, it kind of ends up feeling like Martha too, where she wants something that she could never have. And so I post on Tumblr that was like, if I was Yasmin Khan and I was like hanging out with her, my non-girlfriend, and she was like, if I were to spend the rest of my life with someone, if I could do that, I wish it were you. And then she leaves, and then she immediately goes and hangs out with her best friend and just decides to just chill and live on Earth with her best friend from like many years ago instead of talking to me. I would lose it. I would lose my mind. And it's like, you know what? That's true. Like, David Tennant immediately went back to Donna and it was like, fuck Yasmin Khan. Who gives a shit about her? Like, I told her that. I told her, you know, I wish I could live with you. I would love to be with you for the rest of my life. Donna, what's up, girl? So, like, dynamic-wise, I feel like the strongest dynamics we've had have been Rose, Donna, Clara during Series 9 specifically, and Ruby. I like Ruby. I think the dynamic between 15 and Ruby is good because it's kind of like Donna's dynamic or like Rose's dynamic, but like it's a mixture of Donna's and Rose's. Actually, my favorite band, they made Welcome to the Marsh. I'm losing my mind here, but like, yeah, it's like Donna but less snarky, or like Rose but actually platonic. That's what it is. It's like Rose but platonic, so like Donna but less snarky, which is great. Honestly, I love that dynamic. I fucking love that dynamic because it really feels like we're best friends. We're just enjoying each other's company. Like that moment in episode 1 with Space Babies, like my favorite moment from that episode was when Ruby gets all of the like boogers on her and the doctor like realizes what it is and tells her, and then she goes, ah, and the doctor just starts laughing and he's like, ah, and he's just fucking cackling at the absurdity of it all. And it was like a moment of like, yeah, they are best friends. They are just straight up best friends. Like they're just enjoying each other's company so much. They're like having fun with one another. And every episode since has made me feel like these two characters truly are best friends. Like it really felt that way. Like we have this like very, very fun connection with one another where we really care about one another. But it's like it never steps into a weird spot. It's always just fully platonic, which I'm gonna be completely, fully transparent and real with y'all. I didn't like that aspect of Rose. I never did, because like when I started watching Doctor Who, and I started in 2005. If you watch classic, maybe it's different for you, but like when I watched Doctor Who for the first time, it was Christopher Eccleston. That was my first Doctor, and seeing the Doctor and then eventually David Tennant, like seeing them fall in love with Rose, to me felt weird, because like I was seeing this concept of like, you know, this time traveler alien who's hundreds of years old, is so wise and so smart and has lived through so much. It's a little bit weird that he falls in love with like a random 19-year-old. Like, I like the idea of an alien dude feeling alien. And you know, Peter Capaldi has my back on that. Peter Capaldi decided that that's what he wanted his Doctor to be, and that's what it was. That's why I love the Peter Capaldi Doctor. That's why the 12th Doctor is my favorite Doctor, because he feels alien, right? He feels like completely just, I don't understand human beings. It doesn't mean that he doesn't care about them, because he fucking surely does, but he doesn't really fully understand how to connect with them. And I love that about him. And that's why Rose felt weird to me, because I was like, you're telling me that this 900-year-old like alien that is just so completely outside of a realm of understanding is falling in love with this like random girl, and I'm sitting here like, all right, dude, like that sounds a little bit cringe, not gonna lie. But you know, a lot of people love the romance of it all, right? Like it's something I come to learn. I know, I actually do know people who like love that the romance aspect of that seasons, that entire arc really with Rose. Like people love that. Sure, I understand why. And I understand that like the idea that they wanted to have for Rose was, in the past, the Doctor's companions were, hey, this is just a random person and I will teach them and they will be the audience stand-in. But there was like a weird like professor dynamic. Ace even called the Doctor professor. It never stepped into a romantic like area until the 8th Doctor. And I feel like Russell T Davies really wanted to be like, let's actually focus on the romance, you know? Let's focus on emotions and connections. And that's what Rose did for the show. And I think that that's something Ruby is doing too, but it is not coming from like a romantic place. It is just coming from purely platonic sense. But they do love each other. They don't love each other in a weird way, but they just love each other because, you know, they're best friends. I love that. I love Ruby for that. Like, I actually do like Ruby a lot. Ruby Sunday's a cool character because of that, because the dynamic. I think individually as a character, she does have something that really drives her and motivates her, which is wanting to know who her mom is, and that's consistent. But at the same time, it feels a little bit one note. So that's my one thing about Ruby that I feel like maybe it's a little bit could have been better, is that like if Ruby had more things about her, maybe it would have made her a little bit more interesting on her own. But I do love the dynamic that she has with the Doctor. 15 Doctor is specifically so much. I think there was a banger combo. I think they cooked with this combo. Getting Shurigawa and Mila Gibson. I didn't have to look it up. I remember. Mila Gibson. Getting the two of them to like act with each other is very good. Very good dynamic. It really sold me on the idea of these two best friends. I feel like I've been recording this discussion for like an hour and I haven't said anything of note. I haven't even mentioned Suthek because like I feel like Suthek in this episode is like an overwhelming power of death, but like doesn't actually really mean much. It doesn't really do anything. It's just Suthek. We defeat him and then we're saved. I mean, and it's interesting because like he does like wipe out the entire universe. He does kill everyone we know and love in the first like 3 minutes of the episode. Like that's something that does happen. But like when it happened, I was like, we're gonna undo this. Like this is not real. And like I was right. It maybe would have sold me on it a little bit more if it was given it like the gravitas, the drama that it deserved. Like if Kate's death would have been more, if it was more emotional, maybe it would have believed it a little bit. But because it happened so quickly and so fast, and then we look at the world and it's like, oh, the universe is dead. I'm like, well, we're gonna undo it. So like, I'm not worried about that anymore. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning. And that's why I really like the scene with the lady with the spoon, because it really made me feel like I cared, pulling me back from a place where I didn't, because to me it was like too much. Something I do love, the Doctor said at one point, when he's defeating Suthek, he was like, we defeated a monster, and now I must become a monster. And then he goes to Suthek and he goes like, you win, okay? And the reason why you win is because if you represent death, I must represent life. And the reason why you won is because you're forcing me, life, to kill you, which was really cool, but also really clever. I love that. It's like, well, I represent life and I have to kill you, and that's why you win, because you made me a killer. That's cold and that's really cool. I have to give it for Shurigawa again. I say this every fucking episode, but like every episode they just make him cry. Like something happens in every episode where they go like, he has to cry here, he cries here. And this episode it happened like 6 times. He was crying every 5 minutes for like any random reason. And it's like, it's not that the stakes weren't high enough that he shouldn't be crying, because it's like, yeah, no, it makes sense. But like not every, in fact, I don't think there would be any Doctor where we get to see them cry this much. I think Shurigawa is the crier Doctor. And I love that. You know, it's like he feels emotions, he feels them strongly, and he lets them out. He shows them. He's not afraid of showing them. He's not ashamed. So he just shows his emotions. You can just see how things affect them. And that's something I absolutely adore about this doctor. I love that about 15 and Shirigawa. And this episode just had him cry like every 2 minutes. It's fucking incredible. Including his best cry, when like he sees the earth just gone and he's just screaming, crying, while Ruby and Mel just kind of watch him. Which, like, weirdly enough, when I was watching that scene and I was seeing the doctor kick himself down for it, he was like, you know, this is my fault. I did, like, oh my god, like he's blaming himself for it all, which again, technically it is his fault, but like he shouldn't be, but like, of course he's gonna do it. You know, ever since like Rogue, we've had this be a thing that, you know, carries over, where he's blaming himself for all the bad things. So it's like, yeah, okay, this is something that's gonna weigh heavy on him, and this is like a storyline we're gonna do for him, something we keep referencing. But as it was happening, I sat there thinking about like Ruby's and Mel's entire like world, family, everything just collapsed. Everyone's dead, and we're only paying attention to the doctor's emotional state. And so a part of me was thinking like, come on, man, like I should be seeing Ruby and Mel just kind of breaking down, not just the doctor. But then he started screaming. He started just being like, ah! And I had this moment where I was like, okay, maybe I understand it a little bit, because maybe like just now I was looking at it and I was like, when he started screaming, crying, like Mel and Ruby approached him and they were like pulling him back. So it was this thing where I'm like, maybe they're very distressed, but seeing the doctor in that amount of distress make them both like, okay, we need to pull him back to reality. It was this thing where like they were just shocked that the doctor is having this much of an emotional reaction, which he like never does. They're like shocked about it and they're like, okay, let's focus on him for a little bit. I still feel like it would have been better if we had seen them like emote about what had just happened. It like they look distressed. It's not that they don't, but they don't have the reaction that Shuri has. And I don't know if that is on Shuri just being Shuri. I love that Ruby went to meet with her mom. And I something I love that was brought up is that the doctor at one moment says, you know, like, we can see her, we know where she is, we're looking at her right now. Is it really fair? You know, she never visited you. If she wanted to visit you, she would have done so in the past like 20 years. So like at any point she made an effort to contact you again. So like, is it really fair for us to like care this much about her despite her maybe not caring about you at all? Or like her life is like loaded, like she like maybe she doesn't have the capacity to care about you because she's going through so much. Like there's a billion reasons as to like what could happen, but like, is it really fair for us to just go and talk to her? For her, for you, for all of this, it's like, is this really what we should do? And Ruby hears that and doesn't care. She just marches forward. She's like, I'm gonna talk to her. And the way she does is actually very interesting, because she goes and orders a coffee, and then she goes and sits next to her and just stares at her. And then the coffee guy is like, Ruby? And then she goes like, yes, my name is Ruby. I was named after a road. And then her mom starts freaking out and she starts freaking out, and they start like hugging and they just start like being really emotional with each other. And the coffee guy, we never see him again, but I'm like, the coffee guy is just holding the coffee being like, miss, your coffee's gonna get cold. That must have been so fucking funny. Like I want a deleted scenes feature on like a bonus Blu-ray or something, where we just get to see that scene, but from like the perspective of like another person in the store, just seeing these two women just cry on each other's arms and just going like, I'm sorry, and like, I love you, and the coffee guy is in the background just like, Oh, that was such a funny image I had in my mind. But otherwise, it was a very emotional moment that I loved. And I love that like they bring Ruby's mom back, and she hangs out with Carla and Ruby's grandma. I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but they're all hanging out at the house, and she has a moment of like, I always thought to myself like, this is gonna be the Christmas where I look her up, where I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna go meet up with her. And then she goes like, but I always wonder, what if she hates me? And I'm like, oh, sad. And everyone is like, don't worry, like, we don't have any hate, it's all love here. It's like, because like they also understand the situation. It was like, she got pregnant when she was 15, some mistake that happens when you're 15, especially like maybe you didn't know any better. There's a huge issue about like actually having sex ed so that people can so like kids and teenagers can know about what they're getting themselves into, but because like some political parties don't want that to happen, because it's like we're not gonna show all that like disgusting shit to our pure kids, and that means that your kids are uninformed and they end up fucking and not knowing what the consequences are, and they end up being pregnant at 15. She was in an abusive household, so she didn't really have any options, so she just gave the baby away. And she just hid that. She just never told anyone about it. And it's like, that's crazy, but it makes sense. It's just a very unfortunate tale of this like very poor woman. So like that must have sucked for her. And like in hindsight, like Carla was 100% right. Last episode, Carla, Ruby's mom, she was like watching it happen, and there was a moment where they were like, why is she shaking? And Carla was like, I think she's shaking because she gave her baby away. She feels awful about this. She's like regretful. She doesn't want to do it. And it's like, I think she was right, because like in that moment, it makes complete sense for the audience to look at that and they go like, oh, Carla is like, she's seeing things from her perspective of being a mom, but actually this is like some sci-fi like crazy alien shit. So like, we're not gonna listen to Carla. That doesn't matter. But then this episode is like, no, actually it did matter. That was absolutely it. Ruby's mom was just a scared 15-year-old kid. What could she have done? Like, of course that was her reaction. So like, there's this moment where like you feel really bad for her if you think about it. And when she says that in that couch at the end, everyone is like, oh, it's fine. Like everyone has that understanding of like it was 20 years ago, but like what else could she have done? Like she's like 34 years old at this point, because Ruby's 19. I think she's 19, and she just had her birthday too. So like, yeah, she's 19. That's still a very young mom. Like I have to say, like 34 is not that old. So like, of course she's still like afraid. Of course she still has this anxiety of like, what if she hates me? Like I had this like mistake that happened to me when I was young, and like she's still young enough to feel so self-conscious about it, to never actually like maybe come to terms with like what I should have done. Like she still feels very regretful, guilty, like of course. So like having Ruby approach her and be like, it's fine, I love you, it's like, oh, it's a good ending. So that's why I'm happy that she's staying. She's not going with the doctor anymore. It's like, that's completely fine. The thing that Ruby wanted the most was just to be with her mom, find her mom, and just have a good life together. And it's like, that's what they're gonna do now. They're just gonna hang out, they're gonna be together. And not just her new mom, her old mom as well, you know, like they're all hanging out together. It's like, it's a big family. She has 2 moms now, and she might have even a dad, which that poor guy, I have to say, that poor guy. Imagine if a random girl that you had a hookup with when you were 15, you were a dumb teenager, you didn't know anything. It was just a random thing that happened one time because we were both dumb, horny teenagers in high school. Again, 15 years old. And then we both just moved on with our lives. We left high school. We went to university or whatever. We started having a job. We've been like doing shit, like a full decade on whatever happens. And then you get a random call and it's like, yeah, so I don't know how to tell you this, but you have a 20-year-old daughter. It was like, imagine like your random classmate that you had a thing with when you were 15 in high school that you haven't spoken to in like 12 years. She just calls you and it's like, you have a daughter. She's 19 years old. It's like, oh my God. That's also a scene I want to see. That's also a deleted scene I want to see. That guy answering the phone and being like, full on spit take. Just what? Fucking what? Ruby, there's a lot of things that are going to happen around Ruby's life now. And I do kind of wish I could see it, but it's fine. We don't have to. So what Suthek did is that when Pyramids of Mars happened, Suthek, instead of dying, he actually like jumped onto the TARDIS and just kind of rode the TARDIS with the Doctor through the entirety of the journeys of the Doctor ever since the Pyramids of Mars to now. He saw literally everything happen, which is like crazy. And any time the Doctor would land anywhere, he actually printed out a vessel of his in the form of a person, this old lady, and it prints out a new version of her anywhere he goes, and it's like complete with a life, with a reality. It's like a full-on real person. And because the Doctor landed a bajillion times on Earth, we have a really powerful one. We have one that is very prevalent in the public conscience, which is billionaire Elon Musk Susan Twist. And it's fun because at the end of the episode they go like, wait, so I'm real now? It's like he's dead, but I'm still me. And it's like, yeah, like that doesn't undo what you are. And she goes like, well, can I help here? And they go like, sure. So I guess we have the daughter of Sutek working for us now, which I don't know if I feel good about having her around, but it could be fun. So yeah, sure, let's do it. So Susan Twist is just gonna be another character who's just gonna be around if we ever want to bring her back up, hanging out with like Unit. It's so fun that like the entire season was around like, you know, we have this Susan Twist character. We have this like old lady that shows up every episode, and like at a certain point you start like wondering like who the fuck is she? She's everywhere. And then that becomes the main plot of the season. And then at the end it's like actually she's good. She was bad, but that wasn't actually her. Her real person is good, and now she's just gonna be good now. Mrs. Flood is the real evil old lady. Like that's the one you should have been focusing on. It's like we have so many evil old ladies, and it's like that was the decoy one. This is the real evil old lady we're gonna set up for the future. It's like, oh my god. Again, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do with Mrs. Flood. I guess like I could, yeah, I'm caught up now. I can go into the wiki. Is there anything anyone has realized? Somebody has found out about her, maybe a reference to a classic episode or something. Despite ostensibly being a normal human neighbor after the 15 Doctors undid the Goblin's alteration of the timeline, she was in possession of the knowledge that the Doctor's blue box was a TARDIS. She also had the knowledge about the return of Sutek and him being the one who waits. She was disintegrated by Sutek's dust of death, but before she said she had great plans. She was later restored to life after Sutek's defeat. Oh, this is something I wanted to mention. I don't think I mentioned it before. Maybe I did when I started recording this. It's been like an hour and a half since I started recording, so it's been a bit. But showing knowledge of the Doctor's true nature and his travels throughout time and space, Mr. Flood warned her audience that the Doctor's story ends in absolute terror. The fact that she references the audience, she has done so twice now. Because in Ruby Road, and this was what should tip you off that she was evil right off the bat, is that like the Doctor and Ruby leave in the TARDIS, and it shows Mrs. Flood, and she goes like, what, you never seen a TARDIS before? And it's like a fun gimmick, and it's like, and then the episode ends. And when I watched that, you know, a part of me was like, well, that's maybe just like a fun wink towards the new viewers from like Disney Plus or whatever. It's like, if you're new to the show, that's like a fun quirky thing. But no, you should be asking questions. And that's what I did. When that happened, I was like, who's that? She's something, she's someone. I was like, Mrs. Flood, this random woman, she's something. But in both instances, she looked straight into the camera and just addressed the audience, which is Fort Wally. And that doesn't have to mean that she has knowledge of the audience and this being a show that she's on. But it could be. If anything, it shows that she might have some god like power entity shit, some god stuff, because like the one character I'm thinking about that did that was, did the Toymaker do that? Maybe, but definitely Maestro the god of music definitely had that. Like I remember vividly how Maestro like looked into the camera and winked at it, and it had like ding, like that sound effect happened. So I was like, to me, it sounds like Mrs. Flood is also another god character that has understanding of reality beyond our comprehension or whatever. It might not be anyone we know. It might just be a different fucking god that we have no knowledge of. What I'm thinking about is like, her name is Mrs. Flood. And I'm like, what name could she have? Like first name that would make her name be a pun to something that is a reference to something else. Like something Flood. Like flood is a word, right? Is a flood of something, like a wave of water that covers over you. Something flood. But like we could just go into a dictionary and spend our entire lives just looking around for what would be a good word combination. I'm just gonna wait and see what they do with her. I don't know if she's gonna show up for like a Christmas special or something, or just next season. We definitely spent a long time setting her up, so we'll see what happens with Mrs. Flood now. But I think that's going to be it for this episode discussion. I'm not going to lie to you, it's very late into the night, so I should just go. That's why I was trying to be kind of quiet for this discussion for the past hour or so. I don't know if you could tell. But yeah, I'm going to leave now. That was it for this Doctor Who episode. I love this season. I do. I love this season so much. Like, I want to get like a friend of mine who loved the RTD era of Doctor Who back then and gave up after the Matt Smith era, which is what he did too, but then he came back to it. I just want to get him back into the show and be like, bro, you have no idea how fucking good it is right now. Like, I love this show so much. It has so much like heart and care into it, and I'm so into it. I think that's gonna be it. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching this. See you guys next time whenever we get more Doctor Who. Bye. And alright, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this reaction episode of Doctor Who. If you would like to watch full-length reactions for the entire season, as well as previous seasons, you can do so over at the Patreon. Check out the link in the description below, social media, also the cool stuff that I do. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Take care.